how can you guarantee that kind of independency and also expertise that is required for certain aspect of governance if you are giving the community full power when maybe they don't have the expertise or they are not enough independent to make a vote?
A lot of people today need governance for very different reasons. So one source of governance is people who deploy smart contracts, specifically on Ethereum. They face a lot of security issues. It's very hard to ascertain the security of a smart contract deployed on Ethereum, and as a result they need to have some form of governance to operate them. And I mentioned in Tezos you don't have to fork, but you can. And the fact that you can fork is very freeing and gives you a lot of safety. You don't have to, and you shouldn't if you don't need to, but the fact that you can is a valuable option.
I'm sure that you have heard about the Tezos blockchain. Well, they did the most successful ICO today in 2017, where they raised around $230 million within 2 weeks, which is quite crazy. But they did amazingly, and since they've been developing a very interesting project, a blockchain that is self-amending, that is taking a unique approach to governance, which still remain one of the big challenge in Web3 and crypto, and has also managed to build a vibrant ecosystem. So today we are going to find out more with the creator of Tezos blockchain, Arthur Breitman. But before we get into the interview, I'm going to ask you a favor. I know that many of you has been watching our show, but they haven't yet joined the FinancialFox community. So if you haven't done it yet, click the subscribe button on our YouTube and also follow us on social media. We are on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram as well. And also share comments, give us feedback. It's very important that we engage with our community. We are trying to bring you interesting projects, interesting conversation and discussions that really matters in the world of crypto, AI, and everything that is emerging technology, or I would say disruptive technology. Obviously, crypto and blockchain are a big part of it. So I'm very excited for the discussion with Arthur today. And finally, remember that all the content here is for informational purposes only. Sometimes I share and my guest share his opinion, but you should never act upon that. You always need to do your own research and get informed, skill up, learn, because any investment decision that you make is your decision and you need to be fully responsible. You can make informed decision without knowing very well the area, the sector, and the project that you might be investing in. So, do your own research is paramount. Now, let's get into the interview. Hi, Arthur, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. So it's really good to have you on the show because Tezos is actually a blockchain and an ecosystem that we haven't discussed on our channel. And, you have been making massive improvement and, it's a project that really is going for a long time. I think the ICO was in 2017, isn't it?
So it was a fundraiser by the Tezos Foundation in 2017.
Okay. So maybe walk me through how you started the project. So it would be great to know the story from the beginning.
Sure. I got involved in Tezos around 2014. And, the original idea of Tezos is this realization that we're at the very beginning of a wave of innovation in the space of blockchains, and that blockchains needed a way to incorporate this innovation. At the time, there was this idea that a blockchain was this, unchanging algorithm that would never change. And so in some sense, you either had to say, well, are we going to all coalesce around, some early blockchains, despite the fact that it may not have or benefit from future innovations, or do we somehow turn to incorporate these innovations? And all the procedures that people had in mind for incorporating future innovation were fundamentally centralized and fundamentally had, bore with them a lot of risk of social capture. And so that's what Tezos proposed. Tezos was to say, well, look at all this innovation, we can do something better, and we can have on-chain governance in order to validate those innovations and incorporate them progressively in the chain. And that's exactly what happened on the Tezos chain, which has upgraded 15 times now. or it's about, we had the O upgrade, so 15 times.
Wow.
And, so I worked on it over the years. My wife joined me in 2016. And, around this time, we wanted to, Tezos had been a hobby project, but it got a lot of interest around 2016, 2017, because a lot of people realized governance was the same. We saw with some of the forks around Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, Bitcoin Cash, and smart contract security, which was another big theme of Tezos, became a big topic. We wanted to give it a life of its own, so we partnered with the foundation in Switzerland, the Tezos Foundation, to basically create a Genesis block to launch the network. And the chain itself launched in 2018.
Okay, so there's been different kind of steps to the journey. So you mentioned about Switzerland. Obviously, the country where the foundation incorporate is very important. As we know, the blockchain still gets some regulatory challenge in different countries. So I would like to understand how it's been working in Switzerland and how the regulatory framework there has helped your project to move forward.
Well, I would challenge this. I don't think it's important to the blockchain where the Tezos Foundation is. I think it's important to the Tezos Foundation where the Tezos Foundation is. But at the end of the day, it's a decentralized network, and so the position of the Tezos Foundation is fundamentally relevant. That's, I think, is quite important to understand. Now, like as a foundation that collected contributions in cryptocurrency, that has cryptocurrency holdings, that operates in this space, yes, the regulatory environment is important for the Tezos Foundation, not for Tezos, but for the Tezos Foundation. And at the time, Switzerland had the most advanced frameworks for doing this. There was a precedent with the Ethereum Foundation, so it was definitely the go-to place. And I think since then, a lot of jurisdictions have also improved the type of offering that they have. There's been more regulation, more clarity for entities operating in this space. So that's for Switzerland, but they were very definitely early to the curve. And the teams working on Tezos historically have been a bit all around the world. They are they've been an important company working on Tezos has been Nomadic Labs. They're based in Paris. Another one working on Tezos is Trilitech, based in London. There's TZA Pack, based in Singapore. So it's really an international project, and of course the community itself is distributed all around the world. And I think that matters most. My experience with Swiss business culture was not positive, to say the least. I don't know if it's just the happenstance of what I lived through, or if it's systemic, but there's definitely some difficulties, some benefits as well. There are good things to be said about the ease of access to governments. The deal-making possibilities are good, but on the criticism side, I found it to be somewhat insular.
Thanks for sharing the feedback. I think it's a bit difficult everywhere. But let's go back to the fundamentals of the blockchain, because I'm quite interested in how you have conceptualized and you have developed this new blockchain, which has been called Self-Amending. You can tell me if I'm wrong. Self-Amending blockchain. I would like to understand what that means, and that's one of the reasons maybe why there is no need to do any hard fork on Tezos, because actually you can change things as the blockchain develop. So if you can walk us through the technicality of that, it will be really interesting. Absolutely,
and you touched on something important. So self-amending means that the rules of the blockchain provide for the changing of the rules. You have certain rule sets that are flexible enough to cover changes to the rules. And in fact, most legal systems today are self-amending. Any body of law today has laws for changing the laws. And that's fundamentally what you want. You don't want to have exceptions whenever you want to change the rules of the chain. You want the rules of the chain to provide for their own evolution. So that is what it means to be self-amending. And in practice, it's been 15 upgrades, which have all been validated by on-chain governance on the Tezos chain. You said something very, very important and very true. You don't need it. It means you don't need to hard fork, and that's something that's not often appreciated. Sometimes people say that Tezos prevents hard forks, or that it means that it makes it impossible. No, the point is not to prevent hard fork. The code is MIT licensed. If people want to fork it, they can fork it. But the point is you don't need it, and that's what's so important. The fact that you don't need it means that if you do it, then you have some untoward reason maybe for doing it. Because why would you bypass on-chain governance? So the on-chain governance is a way to confer legitimacy, and that's super important because a lot of projects like Ethereum, for example, have been upgrading by hard fork. But when you have to decide if you have a hard fork and you have different versions, what is a legitimate version, what is not a legitimate version, it's all about legitimacy. And unless the legitimacy is conferred by something, an explicit set of rule, legitimacy will be conferred by an implicit rule. And the implicit rule is like, well, we're going to go along with what the Ethereum Foundation says or does. That's probably the greatest source of centralization when you're dependent on forks to upgrade. When you don't need the forks, when you have a clear legitimacy setting process, you have the possibility of evolving while staying centralized.
So governance is obviously a big, let's say, maybe you find a solution, but it's still a big challenge in Web3 and in crypto generally. I think lots of governance, decentralized models of governance out there, they're not really very effective. So my question, just to understand how you have designed such a effective and secure governance on the Tezos blockchain, considering also you are a proof of stake, so there is a certain element of centralization as well of nodes. How can you guarantee that kind of independency and also expertise that is required for certain aspect of governance if you are giving the community full power when maybe they don't have the, how can I say, they don't have the expertise or they are not enough independent to make a vote?
Yeah, well, even if they don't have the expertise, sometimes they can have, picking experts and relying on experts that they choose and that they trust to advise them in making this decision. So that's very important. And the other thing is, the point of the governance system is also to protect against capture, to protect against things which are very obviously nefarious to the network. So a lot of the time, you don't need a lot of expertise to know that if you're making a technical upgrade, somehow you're not you're making things better. It's not very controversial. But I would say that any single time that the protocol changes have touched on the issuance of tokens, like who gets how many tokens, when, and so on and so forth, it's always been a lot more lively debate, a lot more controversial. Because again, you're touching at a nerve that's potentially more sensitive than mere technical upgrades. So we've seen actually bakers really engage in the governance process, really reach out to people that they trust for advice and for expertise. So I don't think that to vote that people necessarily need to be extremely technically inclined or have deep ability to judge things technically. What they have to do is they need to be sufficiently good judges of character to decide that what makes sense and what doesn't, which is a lower bar than being able to directly appreciate the value of the upgrade. But that being said, the bakers they run servers. A lot of the bakers in our ecosystem actually tend to be technical. They tend to be passionate about the field. They tend to read what's going on in various ecosystems. So they do actually have a sense. Not all of them, but many of them do.
So how do you see the overall industry going towards a better governance standard that also other stakeholders and other players can adopt in order to make the decision process better? Because I think even in DeFi you can have DeFi growing if you have got a strong governance in place. So maybe that will require, as I said, adopting standard. That will be interesting to understand your views on that.
Yeah, so I don't think I don't think you need to have amazingly good governance to make a difference. I think having any is already a great start. A lot of people don't really want to have governance. The secret is a lot of people in crypto want things to be centralized fundamentally. They create things and they want to keep them centralized, and then the users want things to be centralized because it's easier to think about, and there's few people who actually care today about decentralization, even though it's the entire value prop of the space. It's the entire value prop of the technology. The other thing is a lot of people today need governance for very different reasons. So one source of governance is people who deploy smart contracts, specifically on Ethereum. They face a lot of security issue. It's very hard to ascertain the security of a smart contract deployed on Ethereum, and as a result, they need to have some form of governance to upgrade them. And I mentioned in Tezos you don't have to fork, but you can. And the fact that you can fork is very freeing and gives you a lot of safety. You don't have to, and you shouldn't if you don't need to, but the fact that you can is a valuable option. Whereas if you're building a smart contract on top of Ethereum, somehow you can't fork Ethereum to fix your smart contract if you have an issue. And so people have to have much higher, the bar for making working governance for something that's a smart contract is much higher than the bar for good governance for DenCun. You need to have things which are fundamentally compatible. You need to be able to react very quickly if you have issues, specifically if you're trying to protect against bugs. But at the same time, you need to provide long periods of reflection so that, to centralize and people can't really force changes. And in practice, it's been a very tough problem to solve for a lot of these solutions, including today L2 solutions on Ethereum. Every single L2 today on Ethereum has a small multi-signature that can take control of the entire thing because they pretty much have no choice.
So on that, I would like to move to the point of scalability, which is another element of the blockchain trilemma. So we discuss decentralization with governance, we discuss to a certain extent security, and now let's go to scalability. And
yes.
I would like you to tell me what you think about the DenCun upgrade that Ethereum has implemented last week. Is that really going to be a game changer for Ethereum ecosystem and layer 2, or has been a bit overhyped and actually is not adding, it's not really a big deal?
It's interesting. So the people in the Ethereum ecosystem, I think they're the first people to come up with the idea of using error correcting code for data availability. So in a blockchain, data availability means you put your data on the blockchain so that everyone can see the data, everyone can validate the transactions. And it's one of the bottlenecks for the fact that everyone needs to see every transaction is a bottleneck for scaling. And I think it's within the Ethereum ecosystem that originates the first idea around using error correcting code to split that data among many participants so that you can scale. So credits to them. And it's a bit disappointing. And so they call it, it's gone, they keep changing the names. They call this Dan charting nowadays. And it's a bit disappointing that that's not what they're rolling out because, we're rolling out, I think next quarter on Tezos, a data availability layer that uses something like Dan charting. We've seen Celestia that has something a bit similar, although not very advanced. Near has something of the sort. And the only thing that Ethereum did with DenCun is it just said, we're going to take a bunch of blocks of block space and we'll say that data it'll just be data, right? We're not going to execute anything on it. That way it doesn't create too much of a load for the validators, but it will give more space for rollups. And so, the immediate effect of that is that the fees on Ethereum rollups fell to zero because they got a lot more capacity. Now, maybe transaction will pick up and then they will reach a limit as well. But I think it's a bit disappointing that they're not moving and that they take years and years to do something like Dan sharding. But it's at the end of the day, though, I think every fee is going to go to zero, and it's a little weird dance for the Ethereum ecosystem to claim that we'll ultrasound money, look how much fee we're burning, and it's great, and at the same time look, we're scaling, and you're not going to have to pay fees. So I think it's a bit foolish to depend on fees for economics in the long run.
Yeah, interesting. So let's move to the ecosystem. I would like to understand who is building on Tezos. I know that you had a few partnerships as well. I think one that I looked and I want to just briefly touch is with a fashion AI company that was quite interesting. But I will be interested to know more about how the ecosystem of Tezos looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's very diverse. There's a lot of different activity on Tezos. Obviously, we have a DeFi ecosystem. There's lending and borrowing and trading. That's on every blockchain. It remains a very important use case. We have a few games on Tezos which are quite active. And of course, I would say one of the main activity on the Tezos blockchain is its amazing art scene that you see on platform like FXN, Shopify.com, Akaswap, and many others. There's a great community of artists and collectors who have made Tezos their home and who produce beautiful digital art on the chain. There's also some corporate adoptions. We had the French Post Office release some stamps. There's been some partnership with museums. Early days were, and it's still running, but early days it was also this this partnership with the French gendarmerie for some supply chain application. So at the end of the day, it's a back-end technology, and people are going to use it for many different things.
Yeah, I thought it was quite interesting, the partnership that you have done with Spellbound, focus on generative art, AI and blockchain for fashion. I thought it was quite interesting.
Yes.
And also I remember when I attended the Art Basel, that was back in 2022. I remember that obviously Art Basel was all about traditional art or digital art, but they were not really crypto blockchain project there, and Tezos was the only one that had a place within the official Art Basel exhibition in Miami, and you had a fantastic way to mint NFT that was so easy with your email. That was a few years back, but it was great to see Tezos there.
Yeah, no, it's been and it's lovely. It's a lovely use case. We're in a day and age where people are pretending that's the use case for blockchain is to launch meme coins, and that somehow this has a brilliant future. It's good to have. I think it's great to have something that aspires to a little more.
Is there anything specifically that you are excited about in terms of like Tezos development in specific industry or in specific application?
Yeah, I still think we scratch the surface on gaming. A lot of people who've tried to do gaming on blockchain are still trying to focus on this GameFi type of thing, and I don't think that's the future. I don't think the future is like a Ponzi-like GameFi where you just farm something. What people would go like, no, it's really native to Web3 culture. I also don't think that it's something completely like bland, like you get a sword and your sword is an NFT. I don't think that's the future either. I think it's somewhere in between. I think there's a lot of games where trading is an active component of the game, and trading is something that happens naturally on blockchain. So trading in a way that makes the game more fun is I think where you can find some product market fit, and I don't think people have really built this type of games yet.
Fantastic. So Arthur, what makes Tezos blockchain unique?
It's a collection of things, but I would say it's being built for real. It's a chain that's being built assuming all of this is going to matter. And if all of this is going to matter, then you need to be decentralized. And if all of this is going to matter, then you shouldn't go behind unsustainable use cases. And if all of this is going to matter, you need to build it seriously. And you need to actually ship things as opposed to pretend you're going to ship things or like overhype bad solutions. And so it's this the quality of its ecosystem, the honesty that goes with it. Is I think pretty unique in the space.
Arthur, thank you so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you, Stefania, for having me.